Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Sermon with Hyde Park United Methodist in Tampa, Florida. I'm Mat Hotho, the Director of Production and Online Engagement.
And I'm Sally Campbell-Evans, the Pastor for Congregational Care.
So, Sally, you just finished preaching a sermon for All Saints Sunday, which, can you tell us what All Saints Sunday is for someone who might be watching who actually isn't familiar with those liturgical holidays?
Sure. All Saints Sunday is the day in the life of the church that we remember all the saints, all those in our community who have gone before us to the afterlife, to be with God. And we remember them by speaking their name, having a photo of them shown in worship, and lighting a candle. It's very solemn and meaningful, and it's filled with also a bit of grace that we are so grateful for their lives and witness in our community.
Yeah. And something that when I was younger, All Saints Sunday, because we did that tradition in Nona as well, something that would stand out to me was, not a lot of people that I know have died yet, because I'm 18, 25, that kind of thing. And occasionally there'd be someone that was like tragic, it was sad, but I remembered as I've gotten older, I've remembered the people who've died earlier in my life, right? Grandparents, people at the church who would pray for me and support me, that kind of thing. And so for me right now, All Saints is this time to really connect back to the people who formed me and are no longer here.
And to be so grateful for their witness in your life way back then.
Yeah.
We have no idea, you listening today, have no idea what your little word of encouragement could do to shape someone's life. Your word of not just encouragement, but support, listening ear, all of that could just really change the direction of someone's life.
Which I think sort of pivots us towards your sermon and kind of the point of your sermon. Not that a sermon has to have a point, but kind of the idea that being a saint isn't about being perfect.
Amen.
It's not even about doing a checklist of things that then make you a saint, right?
Right.
It's about a posture, a behavior, an attitude. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. I say in the sermon, it's not about stained glass perfection, but it's about ordinary people letting God's grace radiate through their lives and making them holy in that way. So it's not at all about us, but it's about what God does through us. We are just the vessel that sometimes get to radiate that love into the world. And so it's not about morality, or it's not about that checklist, but it's about being open and available to be used by God.
And it just happens to be that when people are open and available to being used by God, they tend to be shaped then through that process that we call discipleship.
Absolutely.
Into being the kind of people who are kind, who are gracious, who are merciful.
Yeah. And I share in there that we have received an inheritance, and the inheritance from Jesus is not money or good things. Our inheritance comes with some responsibility. That gift of having that relationship with Christ calls us then to share hope and justice and love and mercy in the world. That's our responsibility, is to carry it forward into the world. So,
yeah. And so on a day like today, we think about those people who have done that for us in our lives. And you were saying that this All Saints, you have a very particular loss that's close to your heart this year.
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing about that? You reflected on it in your sermon a little bit.
Yeah. So last May, we learned that our niece was diagnosed with cancer. And so I was on renewal leave this fall in September and early October. And I knew I was going to go see her, not having any idea how rapidly the cancer would take her. And so I did visit with the family and happened to be there the day that she was moving into my brother's house on a hospice bed, under the care of hospice. And so I ended up staying there 8 days, and it was, sad and meaningful and poignant and a gift, an absolute gift. To be there with the family, to share stories, she met death like she met life. She cracked jokes. I mean, it's very intense, and she's very sick. And one day we were sitting outside, and I'd gone back inside for something, and I closed the door, and it the oxygen hose was in the door. And so we all had to wait. So a little later, she's like, so what are you trying to do, Sally? Kill me? It's like, so that became the joke. I mean, as poignant as it was, she just was light about it. At the same time, she died on Tuesday, but on Sunday, she got on a Zoom and said goodbye to her religious community. Mm-hmm. It was powerful. Just a brief note, but she took it very seriously. And as I said in the sermon, when I said, Katie, how is God showing up for you? And she said, God is showing up as love. Hmm. Love for all these friends that have come to see me, love for this family, love. But then when she paused and said, and I'm kind of looking forward to the next phase of this journey to see what it is. That was very reassuring for all of us.
Yeah. Thank you for that witness and for sharing that. You do so much for our community in walking people through those moments, and to have to walk through it on your own. It's what you do for our community is so true. Mm-hmm. And to hear you talk about how you walk through it just reinforces how true what you do day in and day out is for our community.
Well, thank you. It is an honor, even though it's a hard one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe if we're pivoting again to a practical way that someone listening to this could practice something that might help them be a bit more of a saint to someone in their life who might need a word of encouragement or a mentoring or something like that. Do you have maybe one or two ways that someone could do that?
One thing that comes to mind is I shared a story of a statue, make way for the image of God.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that, as it says scripturally, that we are made in the image of God, right? So there's a bit of the divine in everyone. So for someone who wants to do good in the world is to recognize that they are made in the image of God first. And let that image out, show the world the beauty of God's love through their lives and their actions. And that can, and then in that, recognizing, even if I was mad at you, which I'm not, even if I was frustrated with you or could, disagree with you, to recognize, gosh, the image of God, the spark of the divine is in this brother, this friend, this neighbor, this stranger. And then that's just like a holy moment. And I wouldn't think that we would be so easy to dismiss one another if we would not be so easy to put them down or to hurt or to really violate someone. If we really recognize, gosh, just like me, you are made in the very image of God. If we walked around with that, it'd be a different world. Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way to think about interrelating with each other. And I also like the image that sculpture gives, and that the story that you told in the sermon from Abraham Joshua Heschel kind of gives to illustrate that. All these other things get to be images of something. And we don't often think that there's anyone sort of showing us who we are. And so this processional of an angel just kind of, leading the way is really beautiful.
Yeah. The angel, is just like so welcoming there, but all behind her are these. And if you look closely, there's an African-American couple first. There's a kid eating an ice cream cone. There's some teenagers with their arms around each other. There's, an old couple hunched over. There's a man who's blind, and there's a seeing eye dog that's guiding him. And so, but the point, everybody's in the parade, like they're made in the image of God. There's not watching on the sideline.
Right.
They're in the parade as we are in God's parade.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good spot to wrap up our Beyond the Sermon for this week. With that reminder that on All Saints Sunday, it is a bit somber. We are thinking about the people who we've lost, the people that we wish maybe could have been around a little bit longer, the people who've shaped us into who we are. And at the very same time, there's a call to ask ourselves, who are we going to be? How are we going to reflect the image of God within ourselves and look for that within other people? So thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Beyond the Sermon. I'm Mat Hotho.
I'm Sally Campbell-Evans.
And we'll be back next week.